Yo, what up guys, back again with another video in the Java library, API, whatever you want to call it, series. This time I'm going to teach you about the iterator and the list iterator, which is very useful for looping through or getting individual elements of a collection, okay? So last episode we covered the hash map, and then before that, a few episodes ago, we covered the array list and the linked list, which are different types of collections that allow you to store objects in various forms, okay? So like I said 2 seconds ago, this will allow you to basically loop through each one. There's different ways you can loop through a collection, maybe with a for loop or something like that, for each loop. But with the iterator is a special class made specifically so you could do that in a more easy manner. Okay, I hope that made grammatical sense. I'm not sure if it did. But anyway, to make an iterator, or actually before we make the iterator, but we need to actually have a collection to iterate through, right? So let's go ahead and create one. We'll just make a array list here. So array list, and we'll give it a type of string, so it's going to hold a bunch of strings, of course. If you don't know how to make an iterator, if you don't know how to make a array list or any of the other collections, just go ahead and watch the other videos in the series. So new array list, there we go. Alright, so that's it. And then after that, let's go ahead and add some names to the thing here. Noah, Cody, excuse my language. Sorry, I'm learning French. Damascus, names add Lars, names add whatever, however you pronounce that. Alright, so now that we have these names here, we can iterate through them. Just for testing purposes, we're going to iterate through them, and on each iteration we're going to print out the value of each name, right? Because we're storing names and stuff. So first, to get an iteration, we need to use, so to make an iteration, or to use an iteration, however you want to say it, we need to get a iteration object. So first we're just going to make a reference here, so iterator. And for the type, it's generic, as you can see here. So for the type, it's just going to be the same type that you're using for the collection itself. So string, and we can call it whatever we want. We can call it name iterator, because we're iterating through our names collection. And then after that, we use our collection here. So names dot, and then we could simply do dot iterator, the method here, which is going to return a instance of iterator, which hooks up to this. So it all fits together perfectly. So now that we have this, we have a bunch of methods that we can do. So name iterator dot, and we can see that, well, we have 4 methods actually, 4 main primary methods that come with the class. So we have hasNext, so which is a boolean, as you can see, which is going to tell you whether there is it starts at the beginning. First of all, when we declare this new object here of iterator, it's going to start at the beginning of the collection, okay? So if we start at the beginning, the hasNext method is basically going to ask the collection or whatever if there's another element ahead of it, okay? And if there is one, of course, it's going to return true. If there's not, it's going to return false. So then remove is going to remove one, obviously, and then for each remaining, I don't know what that does, so control Q says performs the given action for the each remaining blah blah blah, whatever, I don't care. It doesn't really matter. That's not really as important as the other ones. So then we have next, which is kind of important. So what this is going to do is return the next element in the iteration. So not only does it return the next element in the iteration, it's also going to iterate, basically, okay? So if you return the so I'll show you what I mean in a second, but that's what it's going to do, okay? So let's go ahead and try using this now. So what we're going to do here is have a while loop, or let's actually say this first. Let's say, here's all of the names, okay? And after that, we'll iterate, so we'll do while. So while name iterator dot hasNext is equal to true. It's inferred, by the way, you don't have to put equal to true. So while it has next, that means that there's another element ahead of it, so it needs to loop again, until there is no next element, so then it's false. So while it has next, then we need to basically iterate and print out whatever one that we're currently on. It's basically just a simplified version of the for loop whenever you're iterating through an array or something like that, right? So we could simply do name iterator dot next, and what that's going to do is basically just print out the element that we're currently on in the collection, and then it's going to also iterate to the next element for the next loop, right? So let's just go ahead and print this out and see if it works. This should print out all 5 of these names that we have here, and as we can see, that it says Noah, Cody, Damascus, Lars, and Naughty, whatever the hell. Sorry. But anyway, so as you can see here, it's basically just a simplified version of the for loop, like I said 2 seconds ago. So that's how you use a simple iterator. That's really all you gotta do. And keep in mind, iterators can be used for any type of collection. That's what they're for. Iterators are specially made for collections. It's a little more difficult with the hash map though, because hash maps are storing pairs of data, pairs of objects, so it's a little more difficult. So let's try doing that. Let me show you what you would usually do. So iterator, I kind of showed you this last episode. I did a little differently though with the by changing it to a set. But so what you want to do, so as you can see here, what we had to do before was provide the data type that we're going to be iterating through. But since the hash map has two data types, we have to basically merge it into one little thing. It's kind of weird looking, but first we actually need a hash map to use. So I just copy and paste what I have here. It's just an example. Boom, there we go. Make sure you import hash map. If it's not imported, good, it's imported. So after that, we need to basically put this into here. Okay, so we could do that by doing map.entry, and then we could simply do string. So I know that's a little weird looking, but that's just how you do it. That's how you can basically combine it into one for the iterator, so that we can use it with that. Okay, so now we can just name this whatever we want. It for iterator, that's fine. And then we could simply do map.entrySet, because it's named, well, we could probably name this hash map if we want to, but it's called map for now. So we could do map.entrySet, which is going to return it as a set, of course, like we did last episode. But once we get the set, we also want to get the iterator, like we did up here, kind of. Okay, so it's a little different, but it's pretty much the same. Instead, what we're doing here is we basically have to combine all the data types into one, but also change it into a set before we can grab the iterator of the hash map. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense for you. But now we can simply iterate it through it if we want to. I'll just paste this here. There we go. So let's run this and see what happens. It should print out both of those key value pairs. And there we go. So we get key 1 is equal to value 1, and then key 2 is equal to value 2, right? So it works perfectly. That's how you do that. So before I go, there's one more thing I want to show you, which is called the ListIterator, which is basically going to be a special type of iterator made for lists. Because not all collections are lists. There's different types of collections, like there's maps, and then there's lists, and there's sets or whatever. I don't know all the differences. It's a little confusing for me too, if it's confusing for you. But basically, there's a special type that you can use upon lists because it adds more functionality. Okay. So with a list iterator, the difference between a list iterator and the iterator class is that a list iterator can basically change the direction. It can also go backwards rather than just forward in the iteration. Okay. So let me show you a good example of how that might happen. So we could simply obtain a list iterator of our array list up here. So a list iterator string, and keep in mind a linked list is also a implementation of the list class, just like array list is. So we can also use the list iterator with that class too, if we were going to do that. So list iterator string, and we'll say name list iterator. That's a lot to type actually. We'll do it. So it is equal to names dot list iterator. Instead of iterator, it's list iterator, which is going to return the list iterator, obviously. So now that we have that, we could simply do the same thing pretty much. So names, and while it dot has next, then we're going to s out it dot next, just like that. Okay. So then it should do that. So let's run this to see if it works. So it should, yeah, there we go. No Cody, Damascus, Lars, and Natty, whatever. So now we can go backwards if we want to, because I said it can also change direction rather than how the iterator works. So we can simply do names backwards, like that, and we can do while it. Oh my gosh, where's the autocomplete, boy? Where's the freaking autocomplete? There we go. So it dot has previous. So if it has a previous, if there's one ahead of it, then we can go ahead and s out it dot previous. So it's going to do basically the opposite. So the way this would work is, by the way, if you didn't have this in front of it, this would not basically work how you want it to work, because this is already since this is here, this is already iterating to the end of the collection. So that allows us to now go backwards. Since it starts at the end, we can basically go backwards throughout the whole thing. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so let's try running this anyway to see if it works. So there we go. So it says names, Noah, Cody, Damascus, Lars, and Natty. Names backwards, Natty, Lars, Damascus, Cody, and Noah. So it's the exact opposite, except that it's going previous instead of next, right? So pretty simple. And that's pretty much it for iterators. Sorry, I just realized my screen is really small, by the way. I hope that's annoying for you too, like it's annoying for me. Or I hope not, actually. But anyway, if you have any questions about what I showed you today, you can ask in the comment section below. I'll be glad to help you. But I would rather that you join our Discord server. There's a Discord server in the link below in the description. That would be very nice if you could join. So make sure you do that. And then also all the code from today's episode is going to be in the description for you. It's going to be in like a little thing here. It's got a bunch of comments, like, you know, explanations in case you forget. so you don't have to watch the video all over again, basically. So anyway, that's going to be in the description for you, so make sure you bookmark that. So yeah, that's it. So if you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and peace.